The following episode most likely contains graphic language, details of violence, and murder, and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 57 of Murder with My Mother, the true crime podcast where I talk murder with my mother.
Hello.
My mother who's barely surviving, and so am I, because this heat is crazy.
I'd be okay if I had AC. I bought a new truck and forgot to check if it had AC.
You got duped with that
Because I got it in the winter, so.
Ugh. See, they need to have like a checklist.
Fuck, bud.
Yeah.
I need to smarten up with my purchases.
Well, that's okay. At least you're able to go 4x4ing.
Yeah.
and stuff.
And I live by the ocean, so.
Yeah. See, I think that like if we had like eased our way to this weather, it would have been okay. But it was literally like raining and
Like,
shit.
Kaya, motherfucker.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. So that is what we're dealing with right now. And everyone in the lower mainland and the valley, it gets way hotter in the valley, I swear. So keep safe out there. If you can find an AC, put hats on your kids because we're learning that the hard way right now. Carlos. But yes, so since our last episode 2 weeks ago, look at us. This is every 2 weeks.
I tried to bail, but I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Mom was like, just use the other microphone and pretend to be me, which wouldn't be that hard because a lot of people say we sound exactly the same.
Yeah, I just have that like little bit of an old lady touch to mine.
True. So to hop into our current events, local current events, the last episode we touched on the horrific tragedy of the murder of Surrey woman Tori Dunn, who was killed in her own home. And since the last episode, we have some new developments. So the family of Tori Dunn is calling for a review of BC's legal system and bail reform, which is funny. It's funny
It's what needs to be done.
Yeah. And it's crazy that it keeps taking this over and over and over. It's like there's hundreds of criminals released in Canada a year, probably thousands, but hundreds of people that have been charged with murder were out on bail. So I don't know if that surprises anybody. Doesn't surprise me,
because
sadly.
it's Groundhog Day, and I feel so bad for each new family that has to go through this and realize the hard way how bad it actually is. And I'm sure once you lose a family member to a senseless murder by someone that's out on bail, they can't even believe it until they start looking into it, and it's like over and over and over.
Exactly. And the thing is too, we know, because we've touched on it, like if you think of Mikhail and Noah, that case that we did, the horrific preventable tragedy, if you really like, obviously you love your family member, you would rather have them here, but the fact that these families are like thrust into having to be the person to advocate for not only their family, but future victims.
Yeah, because they think like someone else is going to go through this like in the next minute if I don't do something about it. And we've seen it over and over and over and over. Yeah. And I mean, even talking to, when you spoke to Lindsay Buziak's dad, that was one of his biggest things that he said to you. Jeff Buziak said, families are going to keep going through this until it changes. And that's the part that I feel so passionate about.
And that's why we do this, right? That's why we keep doing this. We're trying to bring, I mean, it's not like people's lives shouldn't matter and they just keep getting murdered by people who are out able to do this. But clearly something is not connecting and there's some kind of, like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, like, is the person that's supposed to be in charge of it just fucking vacant? Like,
I don't know. Is there not even someone who...
Maybe they're not assigned. Maybe it's like my job. They weren't trained.
Maybe not. But it's like you would think with all of these things in the justice system, all of these holes that we have, right, to give the person who has committed this crime more, like, they give them more compassion than they do the victims. Yeah. And again, I know I've said that at least 10, 15 times. So her alleged killer, which obviously we have to say because it's Canada and you're innocent until you're proven guilty, but he had been released from police custody weeks before the fatal attack, like we touched on last time. And her family just wants to know why, because 2 weeks before he had stabbed another woman at the SkyTrain.
Yeah.
So her cousin has actually launched a change.org petition calling for a review of the legal decisions that led to his release. So basically her family is super angry. They're like
heartbroken.
Exactly. And they just want to make sure that nobody has to go through this again, which sadly people will. And that's why it's like something needs to be done. So the killer has a long rap sheet, and it's here and in Ontario. So he is originally from Ontario, and his name, which you guys know, obviously I don't like to give it attention, but you never know if this guy could be back on the street next week.
Yeah, he might be renting your basement suite next week.
Exactly. So the 40-year-old suspect's name is Adam Mann, and he has been charged with second-degree murder, according to BC's Integrated Homicide Investigation Team. So obviously we'll keep you guys posted on that, because like this really is a nice segue into our episode, which again, horrible, but this it's like women of number one, right? Women have to always be aware. Women have to be the ones who are looking over their shoulder all the time, worried that, that man, what is that, a thing that's going around right now? If you were to meet, what would you be more scared of if you saw when you were alone, a bear or a man?
Yeah, I mean.
And men are getting so mad because women are like, oh, a bear, because I know that the bear would either kill me or like if I play dead, maybe it'll leave me alone. But a man, like all the cases we've touched on that have to do with femicide, sexual assaults, all of these things, most of them are perpetrated by men. Obviously, we've covered women that murder, but most of them, and statistically speaking, are women. So hundreds of murders committed in Canada are done by people out on bail. We've already talked about that. And reading my notes wrong. But each year, thousands of women are reported missing in North America. While many are found safe, a significant number are tragically murdered. In the United States, according to the FBI's National Crime Information Center, around 268,000 women and girls were reported missing in 2022. Studies estimate that approximately 20% of these missing women and girls are found dead, and of those, a significant proportion of victims are of homicide. This translates to roughly 53,777 cases where missing women are later found murdered.
Like, just absorb that.
Yep.
53,777. Like, that number is...
Mm-hmm. And then in Canada, the Canadian Centre for Information on Missing Adults reports that approximately 70,000 adults go missing each year, with about 60% being women. So what is that, 42,000? Research suggests that around 10 to 15% of these cases result in murder, leading to an estimated 42 to 6,300 women who are murdered in Canada annually. So obviously, we have the population of one state of the United States, and you always see the more wilder cases kind of in the United States. Like somebody today, when I was talking about the case that we're covering, they're like, oh, was that here? And it was like, no, it was in the States. And the look on their face was kind of like not as surprised, like, oh, okay, yeah, crazy shit happens in the States. But like something needs to be done to keep these women safe. Like, I don't know if I don't know. like I'm at a loss.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have guns here either. So.
No. And they're trying to take even more of our guns away, which it's like, how are people going to be safe, right? You can carry pepper spray, but really if someone's going to come for you and pepper spray doesn't do anything, then what's your next step?
Well, like I said before, when I was walking around with the person that was like contacting me, a psychopath contacting me all the time,
Mm-hmm.
all hours of the day and night, 24/7. Like, I don't even know when this person actually slept.
Mm-hmm. Probably didn't by the sound.
Yeah. And I had bear spray, my big black dog, and I had a taser, and I was just like out walking the dog with it.
Oh, well.
And I still didn't feel safe.
No. And that's the thing. Like Carlos, when we were doing 75 Hard, we would go for a walk every night. And sometimes we had to go separately. So he would just go, no problem. He comes home, there's nothing. And I'm like, so he gave me the taser, he gave me the pepper spray. And like, I can't wear my headphones because I know better. I'm not going to be like sneak attacked. At least if someone's going to come get me, I want to be aware so I can turn the taser on. And I had my finger on the pepper spray the whole entire time.
Yeah, but do you even think, like, I feel like myself trying to pepper spray someone is just going to go awry.
Yeah, your pepper spray
like, I'm going to spray my fucking self, and I'm probably going to tase myself as well.
Yeah. but at least hopefully you would get the the person trying to attack you as well with the back spray or whatever. But today's episode, like many episodes we have covered, has a focus on female safety. So I'm definitely sensing a theme, especially when it comes to knowing how to recognize the red flags in dealing with things like the escalation in obsessive behavior. This is also a complex topic when it comes to people who abuse their power to gain access to you without your consent or knowledge, which we will be covering today in the case we're covering. So the first thing to look for is excessive communication. So someone who's persistently contacting someone through calls, texts, emails, or social media, often despite little or no response. This can escalate from annoying to intimidating, causing significant distress to the recipient.
And that's what I was just talking about. Like I went through that. When I said, please stop, I am not interested in talking with you, it just escalated.
Yeah. Now, okay, we've all had the guy that messages you every 3 months on Facebook for like the last 15 years. Like I've had.
Isn't it weird that we all have that? Like, well, hey, hi.
Again, I'm sensing a theme. But in this case, I'm talking about like aggressive, doesn't always have to start as aggressive, obviously, because some guys can start really sweet, quiet, nice, but you have like there are unhealthy obsession, like an unhealthy obsession has other signs.
Hey, hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So also unwanted gifts, sending, like it seems nice, but like if you don't want anything to do with this person and they're sending you unsolicited gifts, letters, notes, which can be perceived as attempts to manipulate or coerce you, like actions that can make the recipient feel unsafe or pressured into acknowledging that other person.
Yeah, like I really want to have these AirPods, but I don't want to talk to this person. And then pretty soon you have to talk to them because you have the AirPods. So don't accept gifts from people that you don't like.
You're looking at me and you change that to AirPods, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So again, I have had like at least probably 10 to 15 different scenarios in my head, separate men that I can think of that have been like this. Like, I don't know if
Remember the time you got the flowers with the poem and we still don't know who it was?
Yes.
It was like a roomy poem.
It literally said, "You are not the drop." What is it? You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop.
Yeah.
Man, it's literally to this day, I have no idea who sent those to me. Creepy. So following you or monitoring you, physically following someone, showing up at their home, workplace, or frequented locations uninvited, or using technology to track their movements. This behavior can severely invade a person's privacy and create a sense of being constantly watched. Threatening behavior, because once you are not nice to that person and you're like, look, I'm not interested. Sometimes they can start making verbal threats, leaving threatening messages, engaging in behaviors that really like imply harm to you or your loved ones. This creates a really hostile and fearful environment for the target. Your invasion of privacy. Illegally accessing personal information, such as hacking into social media accounts, email, or other private communications. This not only breaches privacy, but can also be used to control or manipulate the victim. Imagine if they find something in there you don't want them to see, and they're like, hey, I'm going to show everyone this, or I'm going to tell everybody about this.
And the thing also is, like, that can be really frustrating and really hard, is that often when someone has gotten to this step and you contact law enforcement, they'll very rarely do anything about it.
And what are they going to do? Give you a protection order? People that had their sights set on you like that, they don't give a shit about a piece of paper.
I mean, I was lucky in my instance because the police I had a friend that was with the police force and they went and served a cease and desist letter to the person. But most people, they don't even listen to it. Like they haven't done anything illegal.
Yeah.
So even though breaching someone's personal space or going to the same place as someone or buying someone something or saying things to someone.
It's gaslighting because it's like, wait, I was just trying to be nice to you. Why are you whoa, it's like, no, this is inappropriate. All of these things are inappropriate. Read the room, go to therapy, call your fucking mom. I don't know. You need to deal with that because if someone's not answering you, if someone's not reciprocating those feelings, you cannot force that onto somebody.
And also the person that is the recipient of all this unwanted stuff that's going on, make sure that you listen to your gut. Like people will think will try to tell you like you're being overreactive or blah, blah, blah. No, you're fucking not.
No. And you know what? Like in today's case, this victim did nothing wrong. This victim did everything right. The only thing that she did was go home. And you're supposed to be safe, just like we talk about with Tori Dunn, with all these other cases where people are murdered in their home. It's crazy. So with that, we will hop into today's episode. On April 26, 2002, Miya Marcano was born to Ima Scarbriel and father Marlon Marcano. She was born in Florida. She was their second born. Mia's older brother's name is Marlon Jr., and the two were extremely close.
Mia's mother came from the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix. Her father's family came from Trinidad. Mia's parents divorced when she was 6, but she still kept close and loving relationships with both of her parents and either sides of the family. Her mom said she was the glue that held them all together. Miya prioritized family time and loved being around loved ones and visiting the islands whenever she could.
She was very active in sports. She did cheerleading and competed in pageantry, but most of all, she loved the yearly celebration of Carnival. I think it's pronounced like Carnival. Carnival, which, sorry if that's even wrong, because Miya loved Carnival since a young age. The costume, the makeup, the spending time with family. Like, if you look at pictures of her, stunning, beautiful, gorgeous. And like you can see the like kindness that like radiates from her. Like she just looked like exactly how her family describes her, like a light, like
totally with a little twinkle in her eye.
Yeah.
For sure.
So Carnival is the celebration on the islands that celebrate the emancipation of slavery. So it's also going to be, you know, hundreds of years of these horrible things that were done to these people, like celebrating with your family. Everyone's free.
Yeah, that you're free and you're celebrating.
And it's colorful and it's bright and it's fun and it's like, you know, there's just so much love. So family and friends describe her as everybody's princess. She brightened a room. Her mom describes her as a bright light. She was always happy. She was funny, friendly, and outgoing. She was sarcastic and had a really great but dry sense of humor. She loved sports, dancing, traveling, and she was described as a beautiful soul. And like I said, she was also stunningly beautiful. Not only was she gorgeous, but she was also very smart. She always got straight A's and made smart decisions. She was studious and had always dreamed of being an orthopedic surgeon. Her mom said, she was just like easy. Like I never had to question, like, is Miya doing the right thing? Like I think her brother probably was the other child, but which is rare for a second born because my daughter is like off the wall. But after university, Miya got accepted into a program at a college in Orange County, but transferred to study sports medicine at Valencia College in the city of Orlando for her second year.
Her family researched the area, the school. They were being worried as Orlando is known as a notoriously unsafe city for young girls among everywhere else. Mm-hmm. Like that's
sex
crazy
trafficking
too, because Orlando, like when you think of it at first,
Disney World.
Yeah, it's like Disney, and like
but it's very seedy. Like there's a very seedy underground. Like there's a lot of
look at even when we went clubbing that night. Like
yeah, I almost fought like 4 girls for like pushing mom. I was like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so although it was normally a safe neighborhood, her dad gave her a stun gun and mace. So like we were saying, taser and pepper spray basically, and put extra locks on the windows. And he came over making sure the locking mechanisms were good to go and secure.
Yeah, so she was originally from Fort Lauderdale, which is about a 3.5 hour drive to Orlando. Yeah. So her parents came over, made sure everything was good. The window mechanisms that they put on wouldn't even allow the windows to fully open. Like she could crack it to get some air, but it did not open far enough, which is exactly what you want, right? They're doing all the right things. The family was really aware of the dangers that young women could encounter, just like how we just discussed, right? Women know. And when you have open discussions, like you need to tell all the girls that you have in your life, like be aware, don't wear your headphones when you're walking, make sure you're like always know your surroundings, trust your gut. Like it's really sad if you think about it that women have to get these kinds of talks. Obviously men too, because we've seen young boys have been targeted as well. I feel like it's a little less obvious with boys. Like when there's a predator that is targeting young males, it's more of like a grooming process, you know?
Yeah, I think it kind of operates in a little bit of a different modus operandi.
Yes, exactly. But with women, it's like a guy will just pull over and freaking stick you in your car, like, you know.
That's why I'm just going to get fat, because no one will be able
and
to
they can't pick you up. Yeah. Exactly.
So while Miya was beginning her second year, she began working in the apartment complex that she was newly living in. She worked in the lease department. This made her family feel safe that she would be working close to home. And I'm sure it was super convenient also.
Well, I know from going to high school across the street from our house that I could just roll in there whenever I wanted and roll back home.
To bed when I left.
When you left, yeah, as soon as you took off.
And I also managed an apartment building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Myself. So
when you were 14. Mom is a jack of many trades.
I probably lied about my age.
Probably multiple times. That's okay. But the apartment complex that she was living in was called Arden Villa. And it was like a really safe neighborhood. It was a gated community. Like it was a little gated complex. And yeah, again, think of the worry that you wouldn't feel when you're like, oh, okay, she's just working at home. So technically she doesn't really have to go anywhere.
That would have made me feel so good if that was you. Like honestly, especially when you're young and you're vulnerable and you're going to school away, just knowing that you had those safeties in place would definitely make
all of those things we've discussed, the taser, the mace, the windows, the working close to home, the going to a, you know, safe college. I mean, I don't know how many colleges are really that safe, but you know, like all of the things, it's seeming to be pretty promising and safe, right? So like most people Miya's age, Miya was really big on social media and was always really quick to text and reply to calls and messages. Even if she missed a call, she would send a text saying like, hey, I'll call you right back, or like, hey, I'm just at work, I'll call you right back, or hey, what's up? I can't talk, but just text me. You know, like most kids these days do have their phones. I mean, not even kids. Not me actually, because Carlos told me the other day that if there was an emergency, he wouldn't put me as his emergency contact because I'd never answer.
Yeah,
I'm
you never have.
Maybe it's just because I can see it's you that's calling for the fifth time.
So on September 24th, 2021, Miya talked to her mom at 8 a.m. and told her mom she was TikTok famous as a video she did the night before had gone viral.
I was recently TikTok famous.
Yes, you were. Miya also communicated with her cousins over Snapchat throughout the day.
Very normal. Like, you know, what you would normally see from anyone her age.
And she was super close to her family. Yeah. Like her cousins that were around the same age as her, you can see photos of them all growing up together. Like they were all very good friends and they all communicated like frequently.
Well, and they said that she prioritized family. And that's like, I mean, it reminds me of my boyfriend is literally all of his close friends are his cousins. Like it's like it's because they are stuck with you because they're your blood, you know. But it's true. Like you literally form these bonds with your cousins. Like I have multiple cousins. We're all 2 years apart, and you know we're like siblings. Like you really are raised almost like sister cousins.
Yeah. Miya had also communicated with everyone throughout the day, I think because her video had gone viral and she was stoked about it. Her dad booked her a ticket for the 8:50 p.m. flight from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale to go home and see everybody for the weekend.
Yeah, she was actually supposed to go on a vacation with her family that weekend. Like I think they were going to go to the islands and spend time with family.
Yeah.
And so Miya was supposed to fly home from Fort Lauderdale, and as she was texting with her brother was actually filling up gas in Orlando. He worked in Orlando. So I think he was thinking like, oh, Miya could get a ride, but she's not off till 5. So I'll just go without her. And they were texting and she's like, no worries. Don't worry at all. Like, love you. Dad's going to get me a plane ticket home. So don't worry about it. I'm going to take an Uber to the airport. Around 6 p.m., her grandma kept trying to call and reached out to her brother, Marlon Jr. So now this was a couple hours later. It took him 3 hours to get home. So he texted her, and unlike her normal response, she didn't answer. Like he was like, okay, I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to go into the store, get some snacks. And when I come out, if she still hasn't replied, like I'm going to call her again. So he did come out and he had no text messages. So he called her and it went straight to voicemail. This worried him instantly because, like we have discussed, this was very out of character. So instantly he calls his mom and he's like, Mom, I can't find Miya. And obviously she's like, what do you mean you can't find Miya? Like, so her cousin had an app that, because again, she was away for school and how close they were, she had an app that she could track where Miya was just in case anything ever happened. But the app that she used was unable to locate Miya's phone. Miya was last seen leaving work at 5 p.m.
The mom called everyone, work, Uber, to see if she'd gotten an Uber. Nothing.
The airlines. She called everybody. She called like the cell phone company, and nobody would talk to her because she's there like, well, you're not the police. We can't give you that information. She's like, I just want to know if my daughter got in an Uber or a Lyft or whatever. She's tried to call all the companies.
Well, and there was a text message sent to, I believe it was her cousin, right when she was getting off work, and it said her last text was, I'm off work, going to get ready and go to the airport.
Yeah.
Her mom texted her friends, nothing. Called her roommate, who also hasn't heard from her. And then she just, was trying to make herself feel better. Maybe she's on the flight.
Yeah. Which would make sense, right?
Yeah, like maybe you lost your phone. Like maybe you dropped your phone. Maybe she's on the flight. So
exactly.
Her mom called her grandma to wait at the airport. No Miya. Then the mom called the police in Orlando and asked them to do a wellness check.
Which I love when families work that quick, because it's like, hey, you know what? We know definitely this is out of character for her. So her family started posting on social media to bring awareness to Miya's disappearance. Her roommate came home and let police in. To them, everything looked normal. But Miya's door was closed and locked, but for some reason they didn't try to open it. Now, the roommate did say that Miya does lock her door when she goes out. So again, they're like, whatever, looks normal to us. But when they went around the back of the building, Miya's window was wide open, which we just discussed the locking mechanisms. They were not supposed to be able to do that. So they didn't see anything wrong, but her dad, her brother, and her cousin drove straight from Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, immediately. Came back, and as soon as they saw the way that her room was, they knew something was wrong. Miya was normally tidy and kept everything neat. The room was in complete disarray. She had a name necklace that she wore with her name on it, and it was broken on the ground. She also wore these crucian bracelets from St. Croix that are very strong, and those were broken on the bed, beside the bed as well. There was also dry blood on her pillow, and her teddy bear that she carried everywhere with her. She even carried this teddy bear to work. Like her whole family, her dad said as soon as he saw that teddy bear, he knew and
something was wrong.
And it was in the closet.
Yes. So there was also a cupboard that was pushed up against the door from the inside. Her bed was all messed up, and on the side of her bed, they found a rusty box cutter. And the roommate said she had never seen it before.
Yeah, and what's a 19-year-old girl doing with a
rusty-ass box cutter? Yeah. Cut myself so bad with one of those one time.
Oh, my God.
When I worked at PriceSmart, probably because I was still drunk.
Oh.
Oh, the good old days.
The good old days.
The good old days. So they call her mom and let her know that, like, something is not right. And the cops are still there with the family. So at 1:36 a.m. on Saturday the 25th, she is officially declared missing. So this was like right away. Was she kidnapped? Was she sex trafficked? Anyone who, like, is there anyone that would want to hurt her? Was she dating anyone? They're going into the regular questions that they would ask anybody in this situation. Did she have a boyfriend? Was she dating anybody? So her roommate said no, she wasn't dating anybody, but she had been telling her about the maintenance man, Armando Caballero, who worked at Arden Villa. 27 Armando Caballero had a pretty violent criminal record.
Oh.
Which is a surprise. I know, you just almost fainted there. So he would text her, like there's texts that I saw that would be like, you look pretty. I have a present for you. Why didn't you say hi? Hey, I'll give you my life savings. And she's just replying like, no, thank you. I can't take your money. Like, trying, obviously too, we have to remember, he's the maintenance man for the apartment building.
Yeah, they're co-workers.
There, right?
And, she seemed like such a kind person, and she probably didn't want to make him feel bad.
But she didn't want to be like, look, you fucking annoying
fucking
asshole.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off, you know, because she looked so nice. Like, I mean, everything.
And she was young. Like, when you're young, you don't have your boundaries set
and you don't have that confidence to be like, hey, get out of here.
Look, fucko.
Yeah. So as the family and friends are there in the apartment, her cousin is looking out the window. She sees a silver car that has direct view from Mia's window. Once the person who's in there, who was sitting there smoking a cigarette, saw her see him, they sped off.
Yeah, almost hit a bunch of people.
They hit a parked car and went in front of the building, but the cousin was standing there and he almost hit her.
Yeah.
So the officer came out because now there's officers there. So he kind of drove himself into a trap, basically. And he was forced to stop. And lo and behold, the person that got out of the car at 4:00 in the morning was Armando Caballero. And he said, y'all looking for Miya?
I'm the maintenance guy. Yeah.
So now at this point, because the roommate had just kind of brought this to everybody's attention, everyone was kind of like, what? So they start asking him all the questions. Where's Miya? Where is she? What did you do to her? You're a stalker. We saw the messages.
Why are you here at 4 a.m?
And he starts to say that a mutual friend named Tati called him and told him that something was wrong with Miya. So nobody, obviously, like we've said, she was really close with her cousins, really close with her siblings, really close with her parents.
And she was a chatterbox.
Yes. And they had never heard the name Tati. So they were asking him all the questions, like, and he was just rebuttaling with like, why would I come here if I was guilty? And so the cousin started telling him that he was obsessive, calling him a stalker. And you can see this, because the cousins were filming everything.
Yeah, they filmed everything.
Well, again, everyone films everything these days, right? So in cases like this, and now these crimes that are happening, a lot of footage is starting to come out, which a lot of this footage would be really useful. Another thing that caught their eye was his face and his hand looked swollen, like he had been in an altercation. So police took his information and Mia's family got his address.
The next day, all of Mia's friends and family come to Orlando to look for her. Her cousins and grandmother had the idea to surveil Armando.
Now, Armando had been working as a maintenance worker at the Sabal Club apartments before he worked at Arden Villas apartments, where Miya lived. In March of 2021, Armando was suspected of smashing a tenant's window after she canceled a date with him. So obviously he was coming on really strong, and she actually thought that she had seen him following her. So she basically trusted her gut and canceled it. But they couldn't file any charges because she didn't actually see him do it. But she knew. She knew it was him.
She mentioned that in the police report. Yeah. So everyone went and sat in front of his house in their
it was 3 cousins and a grandma.
And they were all in the car filming. Mm-hmm. And as they sat in front of his house, he was outside kind of pacing around by his car. Came back to his car. He was like going back and forth, kind of like, he looked like he was crazy or distressed or like something. And he took out a black book bag. Rubber gloves.
All right. You hear in the video, they're like, he has gloves, because of course, like, what are you using gloves for?
Yeah, and they're like the blue medical gloves. And then the biggest thing that alarmed everyone is he took out a blanket. And the grandmother realized that this was a blanket that she had given to Miya.
It's so sad because you hear her, she's like, my blanket. Yeah. Like, that's my blanket. Like, she knew 100% that blanket was in Mia's room.
And it was like a fuzzy girl blanket.
Yes, a pink blanket.
Yeah, like there's no reason that Armando had it.
So at this point, the family is like, oh my God, what if she's in there? What if he has her, right? So they call the police, like, right away. And they filmed everything, like we said. So they're thinking, is she in there? Has he done something with her? Or even worse now, has he killed her and now he's trying to get rid of the evidence?
So he came out and started to circle their car. Get out.
He was like banging on their thing, like, get out, get out, get out. And
like egging them on.
Yeah, the cousin was like, just don't engage, don't look at him. But then he got in his car and sped off.
And her brother spotted him, and his dad followed him and made him pull over. Like, this family is awesome. Mm-hmm. They questioned him, but Armando remained adamant that he had no knowledge of Mia's whereabouts. When he returned home, the police came and he let them in to do a search.
And they didn't find
but they
anything.
couldn't find anything. They couldn't find that blanket. They couldn't find any of it. So he clearly had it with him.
Well, they think that what the family was saying and some of the research was that they think he called his roommate and was like, hey, I need you to get rid of this blanket for me. So police and media get involved as soon as they catch wind, and the search gets really big. Obviously, they're putting flyers, they're doing all these social media posts, hashtagging, like find Miya, like all of this stuff, bring Miya home. But obviously without probable cause to arrest him, he remained a free man. I feel like they need to change the law. Like if you're doing really suspicious shit, even though it's just like, it's like, oh, we don't have any cause to arrest you, like you're doing really suspicious shit. I feel like you should just get arrested. There should be some kind of like, we're arresting you because you're suspicious.
You're sus, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. Like Kiers would say, you're sus. Except for I'm pretty sure that means gay now.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It switched. Oh. I don't know. I'm too old to keep up with
this shit. I don't know either. To me, it means suspicious.
Yeah, there you go. So authorities issued an arrest warrant for Caballero for burglary related to him entering Marcano's apartment without permission, because what happened was they actually had some security like codes on the door, and they could tell that he used his access card to open Mia's apartment that day. And she did not schedule any maintenance. He was not going to check if something was broken. So why is he in her apartment?
And he did it about, I think they said like 38 minutes before she got off work.
Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on September 27th, a storage unit calls 911. Whoa.
911.
I almost went for a slow motion. Calls 911 reporting that someone has hung themselves in the paint garage. It was Armando Caballero. So there was no suicide note. There was no other clues. He didn't say, this is what I did. Nothing. There was nothing. So
selfish as fuck.
Yes. So the family was very open and was using the media as a public tool so that they could try to continue to bring Miya home, because, okay, now the person who obviously they believe in their hearts has something to do with her disappearance, now he's dead. So he can't give them any answers. But what this also kind of tells the family is obviously it's never a good sign when someone has committed suicide, because what does that mean, right?
Yeah, that they're out of options. And the thing is, too, like the other thing that would be playing on your mind is like, this is only a couple days after she goes missing. So if
3.
Like it gives you like the hope, like maybe she is alive, and the panic of like, we need to find her, because if she's somewhere where, she's not being fed, or like just the wondering, and for him to just kill himself is like,
yeah, obviously not a good sign.
Like if you're going to die anyway, just leave a note.
Yeah. Just go to jail, like just face the justice,
Or kill yourself, whatever.
Yeah, well, kill yourself, but let them know.
Yeah.
So police had evidence, like we talked about, that at 4:36 p.m., a master key fob, but no maintenance was scheduled, but the maintenance master key fob was used to enter Mia's apartment. So 4:36.
So 25 minutes, 24 minutes.
At 5 p.m., Miya was spotted on camera, and at 5:06, she entered her apartment, and at the same time she entered her apartment, she texted her mom. So after that, nothing. She's never heard from again. So can you imagine, like, just obviously what we're talking about is you are just getting off work. There's this guy who you're probably not paying a whole lot of mind to, because
a creepy weirdo.
Because it's probably the 18th guy that week that has said something inappropriate to her, or not even inappropriate, because he's like kind of pussyfooting around the whole situation. I want to buy you a gift. I wanted this. How come you didn't say hi? Just like annoying fuckery.
Grody to the max.
But imagine this, right? So you're entering your home, you're getting ready for a trip, and all of a sudden this guy's in your house.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And uninvited, right? You didn't invite him.
His phone records show that he was at her complex at the time. His cell phone leaves the building, drives up to Seminole County and north. Police believed he went there to throw them off, but one location behind an apartment he used to live in the area of New Smyrna Beach, that's where they found Mia's body.
Yeah, behind his old apartment complex.
And they also found her purse and her IDs.
So 8 days after, on October 2nd, was when she was found. So I remember this because I was keeping up with it. As soon as I saw her go missing, like we do, I was watching all the, YouTube, the press, the coverage, everything when he killed himself. I remember being like, this motherfucker did it for sure. And then she was found shortly after. Yeah. So she was found partially clothed, wearing jeans, a bra, and a robe, but she had no signs of sexual assault. Her hands, feet, and mouth had been duct taped with black duct tape. And due to the advanced decomposition of Mia's body, they were unable to determine exactly how she was murdered, but they're suspecting that it was something like she was strangled, asphyxiated, something like that. So what they determined, it was homicide of undetermined means.
And they believe that he had hid and ambushed Miya while she was getting ready, which that's how we all get ready, in our jeans and our bra and
your robe. You're doing your makeup, you're listening to music, you're not fully aware and engaged.
Yeah, because you're fucking into it.
You're at home. You're having a smoke in the bathroom. Just kidding. That was mom in the 90s. But think about that. You're getting ready. You're just da-da-da.
I love getting ready.
I know. I hate getting ready, actually. That's why we're not filming again this week. Think about it. It's like rejection, obsession, stalking. Clearly, this guy had his last job, he was fired because they thought he... Yeah, but then he just went and got another maintenance job at another building. Like, that's not keeping your tenants, your employees, it's not keeping anybody safe. So vigils were held as the family tried to make sense of this horrific tragedy. Like we said, you can do everything right and with your kids, try to keep them safe, try to keep them, aware, but you should be safe in your own home at the least. At the least.
Yeah.
So on October 14th, 2021, a beautiful celebration of life was held for Miya. It was so beautiful. Like her casket, and I've never seen this before, but her casket had this big, beautiful photo of her.
Wrapped.
Yeah, it was wrapped. It was just a big picture of her. And it's so sad because this was something that was so preventable as well. So out of this loss, the family actually created an organization, a nonprofit organization called the Miya Marcano Foundation. And its primary focus is to help provide support and resources to families of missing people. Because when you've been through that, you can really sympathize with other families and know what they need and what they don't need. Because sometimes... there's not a whole lot of resources, I don't think.
Well, another thing is when someone goes missing, once the response finally happens, there is a frenzy of a response. Mm-hmm. But then when nothing is found, that all dies off. Yeah. And you're left knowing your person is still missing and there's no one left around to help you.
Exactly. And everyone else is moving on with their lives. Yeah. And it's
how can you go on with your life when, someone is missing? But it happens, as we said, in the United States alone, 55,777 times.
And that's just murder.
Yeah.
They also had a law passed in the state of Florida, which they are hoping to pass a law nationally as well. And it's called Miya's Law. So what this requires of places like apartment complexes, stratas, it requires that each time a person is going to go into a unit, they need to give at least 24 hours notice.
We have that law here.
We do, probably because someone was murdered. Probably. Well, probably not, because our government doesn't do anything about that. So there's also notice that it records logs of every time staff enters, which is obviously now going to be a little bit easier with electronic things able to kind of keep track of that. But if somebody doesn't want you to know they're going in your apartment, I don't think all of these things, they're not going to give you 24-hour notice. You think Armando would have been yeah, I'm going to give you 24-hour notice? No.
Coming in 24 hours.
No, but that's what I mean. There's not...
he didn't go in to do something lawful.
No.
He went in to murder
and just
her.
like we talked about with a cease and desist or a protection order, if that person wants to, sadly, if they want to, they see you, they have their sight set on you and they want to rape you, murder you, kidnap you, whatever they want to do, They're going to do it whether these laws are in place or not. But this next one is actually very important because this would have really helped Miya in this situation. Is they want to ensure that background checks on every employee are put through the national background screening, so that if they're in Florida and they have a record in Seattle, because you know that people like to slither around the United States and all over. Then
and the thing that's still crazy to this day is that so many different places do not share information,
which is crazy because again, do they not think that these people can travel? Yeah. So the family also sued Arden Villa. According to the lawsuit, Arden Villas is a parent company and the estate of Caballero are all listed. So they sued basically his estate, the whole company that was the management company. And the Marcano family claimed that they did not do enough to protect their daughter. They said the only way that Armando was able to get into Mia's apartment was through the unfettered access that he was given to himself, that was given to him by Arden Villas. So the lawsuit also claims that they did not do a more thorough background check on Caballero, claiming if they had, the complex would have found out that a female resident from his previous job had also raised concerns about him. So the importance of background checks, and again, I'm pretty sure we touched on this last episode, if you're working with somebody, because this is the crazy part. Like we said in the last episode, I worked with a guy in a liquor store.
And like tell kind of like how you found out.
I will, yeah. It's crazy. So I was working with this guy and he was like a good looking guy, very like
you told me about him all the time. Like he was so nice. Yeah.
Which means charisma.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. But he was like just friendly and outgoing and like I never once had a bad feeling about him, which makes me like, oh fuck. But also again, I was young, so maybe I wasn't monitoring. I was also drunk a lot, so maybe I wasn't, not at work really, I guess, but I was excited to get drunk after work. Maybe I wasn't focused.
Well, but you were also like excited to work with that person because he was fun.
He was fun. He was like literally outgoing and, you know, make the time go by faster. But one day we were working and he hadn't come in for a shift in a couple days, and it was like, oh my God, is he okay? And someone came in and they're like, hey, that guy that works here, you guys should be careful with him because he just got out of jail for raping his coworker.
Yeah. In the bathroom.
At a gas station. Yeah. For hours.
Yeah.
So, like, the importance of background checks for workers with access to people in general, to women, if they have a history of violence against women, that is important. That is need to know information.
Yeah.
If this person has access to an apartment building that you live in,
they have the key. They have the master key to everything.
Yes. So workers with access to apartment buildings, such as maintenance staff, security personnel, and management, really hold a position of trust and responsibility. And this is why a thorough background check is crucial. Safety and security, like we've touched on, ensuring that employees with access to residents, their homes, that they don't have a criminal history, particularly related to violence or theft or stalking. Like these would all be vital things to know to maintain a safe living environment.
I think I need to go home and get my key from my dog walker.
Yeah, right? Trust building. Like residents need to trust the individuals who can enter their homes, and sometimes without their presence, right? You don't want to be worried like, okay, this guy's going to my house now, all my shit's missing. But I mean, at least you know, like it was the maintenance guy, right?
Yeah.
So background checks help with building and maintaining this trust, fostering this sense of security within our community.
They also preventing exploitation. Mm-hmm. Workers with unrestricted access to their apartment buildings have the potential to exploit their position for criminal activities.
Like we're seeing in this case, right?
Like background checks can mitigate the risk of hiring individuals with a propensity for this behavior for sure.
Exactly. So legal and liability issues. Landlords and property management companies have a legal and ethical duty to ensure the safety of their tenants. Failing to conduct proper background checks can lead to liability issues in the event of an incident. So obviously we're seeing, the family has lost their daughter, their cousin, their granddaughter, their sister, has lost her and is now suing the apartment building because not only did she live there, she worked there as well. So it's like, this is a double whammy.
Well, and like I drive limo. And I drive drunk people around that often either tip me very well or sexually make inappropriate comments and whatever. And I am required.
It's never the same people doing those two things.
Well,
that people.
Sometimes it is. It depends before and after. But
still doesn't make it right.
But I mean, I am required, and I cannot drive. I'll get pulled off the road if I do not have a crim check done for myself. Yeah. So I'm not going into people's houses like where they're living. I'm just driving them around.
But you know what? Actually, one time I was in Vegas, and as you guys know, I don't drink, so I'm pretty with it all the time, most of the time, before a certain time. But then I'm just falling asleep like a narcoleptic. But anyway, I went to Vegas with my cousins on my cousin's bachelorette party, and one of my cousins got so drunk that I had to push her in a wheelchair, which was really fun and enjoyable for nobody. But we got in a cab, and she got in first, and then I got in, and it was this guy driving, and he was looking at me in the rear view mirror. He was huge. He was like he's probably like 6'5", 350 pounds. Like, he was a big dude. And he said, like, how you ladies doing? You know, oh, we're good. And she's passed out, slumped over. And he said, good thing you're with her, or I would have rode that ass all night. Isn't that fucked up?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
But it's like, you're driving a cab. Like, do you think they did a criminal records check on that guy?
No.
I don't think so, because just from that sentence, I'm pretty sure that he has done some kind of predatory action. to even have the balls to say that to me, I wish I had pepper spray in my pocket right at that moment. I would have sprayed him and just freaking tried to somehow get my cousin out of the cab, but she was like dead weight. So that's the thing, right? It gives you peace of mind. When you do comprehensive background checks, it provides peace of mind to both people, you know, with any job, especially if it's somebody who has access to your living quarters. But yeah, when you're driving, when someone's driving you in a limo or a taxi or anywhere, if they don't do a thorough background check and this person slips through the cracks, who is going to be responsible for that?
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody.
So, but yeah, so it's a scary world to live in, especially if you...
I'm going home to do a bunch of stuff to my house and call and get my key back. So
maybe you should switch to Unleash Happiness, the dog walker that follows us.
Good idea.
If you're looking for a new dog walker. Now, and this is the thing, not every man is like this, right? It's sad because like these shitty ones really give the good ones like a hard time, because it's like not every dude's a piece of shit. Not every dude's a rapist. Not every dude's a killer.
Most of them are not.
No. But like, talk to your children, talk to your girls about being safe, talk to your sons about making sure they're not fucking messaging someone 85 times on Facebook. Like, Kierst does that when he was 10, and I've had to have so many conversations like, hey dude, you really need to wait till someone answers you before you message them again. Again, he was times. Like 8, 10, you know, like he's gotten a lot better, but it's like, these things are not
But I think that there's some people whose mom didn't talk to them about that, because like you said, and like has happened to me pretty much my whole life, is you'll get messages from some rando that you maybe had one conversation with for the next 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Like, I have like 15 of them.
Yeah. Hi. Hello.
Hey. Looking beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey. Stunning. It's like literally like a whole conversation
by
from
themselves.
Years.
Creepy.
Years. So yeah, everybody remember to be safe. Remember to like get like do your own background checks on people. I don't even know what to suggest, because this kind of stuff really is fear provoking, because you know, we don't want to obviously scare everybody, but this is real life, and these cases, this is true crime. This stuff has happened.
You do have access to the CSO, the Criminal Search Origin.
Everybody on there.
And search them up.
Search everybody. But then what if they have a fake name? What if they're not,
well,
you know?
I was going to
do a DNA test. Get their DNA and send it in and see, like,
I think this is my baby daddy. Yeah. Send it in and they'll be like, no, it's just a killer.
That triggers me. No, just kidding.
But yeah.
I think I've done enough DNA tests to get me through the rest of my life. So
on that note,
yes, well, that was episode 57. So again, just stay safe out there, everybody. Be
aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, be aware of who's surrounding you. Don't be afraid to tell people to hit the road. There you go. But yeah, so we've had 108 new followers in the last 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Somebody paying you guys to follow us?
I'm like, what's going on? But you know what? Dan said one time, Dan's like, Dan, what'd you say? Refresh my memory. Something about podcasts with over 50 episodes.
It is 90% of podcasts started don't make it past 3 episodes.
Oh.
90% of those don't make it past 21.
So 90% of podcasts. Yeah, so
excellent.
We are in the top 10%. Our listening score
We're finally
is
getting
like
listened to.
30 or something like that. So
that's
actually a good listening score, I think, because again, you guys know I'm the most savviest, techiest person around. But no, I thank you guys. We love it. We love it. We love the messages, the case suggestions. This case was actually suggested to us from a listener. I had been wanting to cover this case for a long time because, again, I think it's really important to put that light on people being safe and how creepy it is that someone could just access your house.
And I also wanted to make mention about the last case we did.
Mm-hmm.
The mother of the victim of the last case we did has been very supportive of us. She reposted the episode and had a lot of nice things to say about the way that we represented her son's life and the way that we told the story of the unfortunate way that he passed.
Well, and just the actions of the
perpetrator ahead of time.
Yeah. What he had done that kind of foreshadowed him obviously being like a super, I want to say stinky for some reason. Yeah. Stank puss energy. Like that guy sucks. And he is in, someone said he's in Alberta, but there was a certain area that he was in.
Yeah.
Someone commented
it's Beau something.
Yeah, someone actually commented on our YouTube, so let me check that out for you guys.
And, I mean, the fact that he is now out of jail and around. So he's in Bonus. Yeah.
So everyone in Bonus, BOWNESS. I guess if you live there, you know how to spell it, but I'm not like, oh, it's a bonus.
But yeah.
It's a bonus that, it's like a shitty bonus that he lives there, so everybody be aware. Again, Tyler, what was his name? Who nobody even remembers because he obviously sucks. But Stacy, thank you so much. Yeah, this is why we do it, right? We want people, and we've said this time and time again, how you die should not be how you're remembered. We want people to remember you for the life that you lived before you were a victim of these unfortunate and horrific circumstances. And your life is not just forgotten.
And if we can prevent, by spreading awareness of people that are around, we can help prevent any future people from being injured or taken advantage of, then
especially because we know the track record of these guys is not promising, and once they've done it once, we know they're probably going to do it again, which is horrible for anyone in our community, but it is the sad truth of where we live and apparently the whole continent, and I think really the whole globe. So but yeah, we love you guys. Remember to follow us on all our socials. I can never say that word. Murder with My Mother podcast on Instagram, Facebook. If you guys want to donate to our Patreon, Murder with My Mother podcast, so patreon.com/Murder with My Mother podcast. And yeah, you got anything else you want to say?
Just that I can't believe it, but we'll be back in 2 more weeks.
We will. And you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to give a special listener a early birthday shout. Michelle. It's not Wilson anymore, is it? LeBerge Wilson. Sorry. Michelle, we love you.
Michelle is like our number one.
Yes.
She does all of our t-shirts.
Yep.
If any of you have a t-shirt, Michelle made it.
Yep.
And her birthday is this coming Saturday, and we'll be out celebrating with her.
At a drag brunch, which will be so fun.
Yeah.
So we love you, Michelle, and we love all of our listeners. And yeah, we will talk to you guys in 2 more weeks. Yeah, stay safe, stay alert, like after this episode for sure. But anyway, that was episode 57 of Murder with My Mother, the true crime podcast where I talk murder with my mother. Bye, guys.
Bye.